Alright guys, so I actually finally, thank the Lord, fixed my rough idle problem. Now for those of you that haven't followed, you know, everything that I've been posting on Ben's World and whatnot, I mean, who would spend that much time on Ben's World, but I've been having a rough idle problem with this car, man, probably almost a year. It started happening about 2 months after I got the car. When I started up the car in the morning, when it was cold, when it was warm outside, didn't really matter. It would start up, not miss a beat, but after about 10 seconds, it would start to kind of spit, misfire. It wasn't a constant misfire; it was very intermittent. And then after about a minute of that, or until you started driving the car, it smoothed out, and it would run perfectly fine until you shut the car off, basically. And if you let the car sit for probably more than about a half an hour, when you go to restart the car, it would go to start, and then the car would conk out and stall. I mean, it would want to start immediately, but it would conk out and stall. And you had to keep your foot on the accelerator a little bit before it would finally start up. Now, anyone else having this problem, there's a couple things that could really cause that. It could be a bad injector, could be your EGR valve here. I had a problem with this thing, with this EGR valve, and I actually made another video on it. This EGR valve here, when the engine started, oh that's hot, would push down like this about halfway, and it would cause the engine to spit and sputter. Now I have another video out there demonstrating what happens. Take a look at that if you have that problem. My problem and my fix with this car having this problem, right down there at the bottom of the intake manifold, hard to see because of the light. It's terribly lit in here. I'm pulled into our carport because it's raining outside, but right there. See that at the bottom where there's a piece of metal going across there connected to a plastic connector coming out of the bottom of the intake manifold? That is your intake flap shutoff system. There's flaps in there, butterfly valves that open and close like this, and it's controlled by a servo motor that sits over here. Do you see right down there? It's kind of might be hard to see for you. I'm readjusting. That lever that comes out right there. Right down there. And it looks like there's a ball that sits in there. Well, that ball connects, if I can get to it to see it, that little arm that comes out of there. There's a ball on top of that arm, or underneath that arm, where that lever connects to. That arm moves back and forth. It's controlled by a servo motor, and it opens and closes those butterfly valves. Now mine was disconnected, and it was disconnected in the closed position. All these butterfly valves were closed all the way, and I don't know how this engine would get any power, but these things were closed all the way, and it was starving the engine of air. And man, it was a pain in the butt to figure that out. The only way I found out that it wasn't working was I was messing around with things in Star, and I tested that intake flap shutoff motor and noticed that whether it was open or closed, it made absolutely no difference in the way the engine ran. I noticed anything else that you do, you open and close the EGR valve, you open and close anything else, it changes the behavior and the way that the engine runs. And this did not. Turns out, that arm back here, if I can get a better look at it, right, actually that's a good view of it right there. See if I can zoom in on it for you. Right there. That thing would move back and forth, and that arm that's right there was not connected to it. It was all the way in the closed position. That arm would just move back and forth with nothing connected to it. And you can see that rod connects every single one of them all the way along to all technically 12, since this is it's got dual intakes on it. It connects every single one of those, and all those butterfly valves were closing. And now I opened it all the way, and I don't feel like dealing with more electronic issues, so I opened those butterfly valves all the way and just dropped that arm to the side and totally fixed my problem. No computer issues whatsoever. As long as that servo motor is working, you don't even have to have this thing connected in order for the car to function properly. So that totally fixed my problem, because I had probably, God, hundreds of dollars into miscellaneous sensors and valves and whatnot. I replaced both the temperature sensor and the quantity control valve right there. I changed the pressure control valve on the back of the rail. Can't really see it very well. right there. Changed that pressure control valve. I changed this pressure switch right there, and I changed the rear injector needed to be replaced. It had high leak off, so that rear injector I replaced. And now the car runs absolutely beautifully, and I couldn't be happier. So, and anyone else having this problem that I described, and I'll describe it even more in detail in Ben's World, in the forum I'm going to write up about this. Anyone else having that problem, definitely look into your intake flap shutoff motor, because more often than not, if you're having starting problems or anything like that, or the car not wanting to stay running or stalling, you know, starting out, or no power, it's probably a fuel-related problem in the car. If you don't have any codes, because this was not this error I had, this problem I've been having was not throwing any codes whatsoever. So chances are it might be either air or fuel related. For me, the fix was that intake flap shutoff motor. The rod had fallen off. So that would be it.